As you can see, we have to come down into this cave. It's another hillside, and the manger's on the other side of this hill, and it was filled with caves with houses. And I love this statue here. You have Mary and Joseph and the baby going to Egypt. Now, if you look, escaping to Egypt actually, and if you look at their faces, I love the peace on the face of Mary and certainly on the baby Jesus, completely resting in his mother's arms like Psalm 131. And then you have Joseph, who's actually a little bit concerned, but also following the providence of God, who's leading them forward and protecting them. Welcome here to the inside of the Milk Grotto in Bethlehem. We have made our way now to our 4th week of Advent. We've come up from Manger Square, taking you with us to go inside, to come inside this place. And we're right here in this cave. It's an important destination for many pilgrims, and so I'm glad we can come here on our pilgrimage of peace. So now you can light your 4th Advent candle as we reflect on the 3 wise men. And I would recommend that you all take out your Bibles and read Matthew chapter 2, verses 9 to 23. It's a story that we know very well of the 3 wise men coming. We know that they go through Jerusalem. They have an audience with Herod. And then from there, they make their way here because they investigate what the prophets say about the coming of the King of the Jews. So they make their way here, and remember, it's not in the Catholic Church, especially in our liturgical tradition, not on Christmas Day that we celebrate them coming, but it's the 12th day of Christmas, the Epiphany, when the kings finally make it here. Now the exegetes say in this gospel passage, I'm going to read it just this part quickly, they enter into what is said, well, first of all, the star goes before them, and they were overjoyed at seeing the star, and entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. And then, of course, they prostrated themselves, offered them gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then eventually they made their way back to their countries by a different route because Herod had asked them to come back, and they said, we're not going to follow him. There wasn't peace when they had that encounter with Herod. They found peace here. And then they said, we're going to go back by another way. Now it's interesting, Herod, who was the ruler at that time and really modeled himself after the Caesars, honored them completely, considered himself the king of the Jews, etc. He fell into fury, it says in the gospel passage. His peace was gone. He was not the Prince of Peace in any way. So much so that in this very city, he massacred the infants. The Feast of the Holy Infants we celebrate in the Catholic Church in our liturgical tradition. And they have a place in the grotto right next to Jesus' grotto that's a place of burial for children where they remember that. So what was it that was happening here? Why is this a place that people visit? How do they know that this is where Mary and Joseph came? Well, most exegetes say that, after giving birth in a manger in very humble conditions, Joseph wouldn't have left his wife and his son there for a long time. So he looked for a more stable, more clean, more permanent place. And that's why he came to the house. So here, the cave is white rather than sort of the pink rock, which is more common. The tradition said that Mary, when she was nursing the child, the milk made this place white, and that's why it's called the Milk Grotto. And Christians come here, especially mothers looking to conceive and bear a child. I know a woman who came and couldn't have children, and she now is a mother, a very happy mother. And so just like people go and visit Lourdes in the water, people come here and they want to touch this rock. They want to pray in this cave. Some people even, take the dust from this and drink it. And many miracles have happened. But the most important thing actually is the peace and the rest that you find here. Just like in this icon, you have the child who's being nursed. He's at rest in his mother's arms. And we can go to Psalm 131, verses 2 and 3. It says, I have stilled my soul like a weaned child. To his mother, weaned is my soul. Hope in the Lord, now and forever. In fact, one of the Franciscan friars says that when the Muslims come here, it's not just asked to be mothers. They come because of the example of humility, but especially abandonment into the providential plan of God. And that is not just the case when they came here and gave birth in a cave, but it's because Mary and Joseph from this place had to flee to Egypt. We can even find the pathway now where they went to Egypt. You can follow part of it if you want to. And so this was not a time of peace. It was actually a time of conflict. And they say, we want to be like this child in its mother's lap. We want to be humble like that. Now, it's interesting that when the three kings came here, they also showed this great humility. They prostrated themselves. They were generous, gave the gifts that we know. And it's interesting, it points us to what St. Paul says in the New Testament. He talks about Irene. Remember, that's the New Testament word for shalom, for peace. And he says, how do we keep our communities in unity and in peace? Through humility. It requires humility. Just like the kings prostrating themselves, it requires patience. You can imagine them being patient in their long journey from the east. And it also implies bearing with one another in love. These are what also is our challenge to really find peace and to bring peace. Humility, patience, and love. And so this is what makes this place so filled with peace. Now, I want to make a comment also about how the wise men ever got here. You know, we know that there was something physical that happened in the sky. Was it a comet? Was it the three planets coming together to make this bright, light? What were one of the main things that they read? Well, there's a prophecy back in the time of the Exodus. The Israelites, ancient Israelites, had left Egypt, slavery. They came across the Red Sea through the desert. They were making their way up through what is now modern-day Jordan, through Moab. And the king of Moab said, oh my gosh, they're coming. They've conquered every people on their way. They're going to conquer us. They all knew, the entire world knew what the God of the ancient Israelites had done in Egypt, conquering the pharaohs, the greatest kingdom. And so he said, I've got to get somebody to curse them. So he paid a prophet, one of the prophets of his name was Balaam, to curse the Israelites. And Balaam couldn't do it. He couldn't. Everything that came out of his mouth was a blessing. So they started to conquer the Israelites in a different way. But what it says in Numbers 24 is perhaps what the three wise men had in their minds. This is what Balaam said, speaking of himself. The one who hears what God says as a prophet, right? The one who sees what the Almighty sees. I see, though not now. I observe him, though not near. A star shall advance from Jacob. Jacob, remember, his name was changed to Israel, the father of the Israelites, the 12 tribes. A star shall advance from Jacob, and a scepter shall rise from Israel that will crush the brow of Moab. Jacob will be their king. Who is this king that they're looking for? The one prophesied that has the power of bringing life, of bringing salvation, just like what happened before. This is why we're here, to find this Prince of Peace, to find this King, this Prince who will bring us life and salvation. So from this beautiful place of peace, and placing ourselves really in the hands of this mother, the mother of Jesus, our mother, Mary, the beautiful Virgin Mary. Let's also pray Psalm 131 and know that from here we've been praying for you and hope that you can join us again on Christmas Day, where we're going to take you into the manger and also show you some of the faces of modern day children here in Bethlehem as we continue to pray for peace. And may God bless you, and we'll see you again on Christmas. So the Franciscans have allowed me to come into their office here. It's really not just an office, it's more like a shrine of miracles, because you see the testimonies all over the walls of families with their children. And these are, the people who want to bring their testimony to the Franciscans, so people who come here see what it means to abandon yourself in God's providence. Not everyone who comes conceives, not at all, but what happens is people come here and are placing themselves into God's plan. And many times the Lord, who's a Lord of life, gives them the gift of life. And so you see families here with their children. One of the things, look, this is a beautiful ultrasound. I just wanted to tell you about one miracle that I personally read about and I know that they're on this wall somewhere. I'm just not sure exactly where right now. But there was a woman who carried a pregnancy, 2 pregnancies, and lost both of them. And the doctor said she wouldn't be able to carry any more children. She had some type of biological problem. And then when she came here, she prayed. She actually was able to conceive. And so she has a beautiful picture of her with her son, who she considers him a gift of God. And there's another miracle of a woman who the doctors, told her that she was completely sterile. There was no way she was going to be a mother. And after coming here and praying and placing herself in God's providence and her husband as well, they have children now. And so these are things which are documented, well documented, and they show us how our Lord works. And so we continue to pray for families from here, from the Milk Grotto, from Bethlehem, and for children. And may all children be wanted and loved. And this is part of what I think the Lord's plan is here in the Milk Grotto, for parents to come and say what a gift life is, how I want to place myself in God's providence, and know that He's going to take care of us and bless us as He really wants to, and as will most benefit us in the world. And so many beautiful faces of so much life here. So praying for all of you and your children and your families and all children of the world and families of the world.